who is the good founder or who is the amazing and great founders. It's all about fast iteration. As a founder, you have to close the deals by yourself to understand what's the repeatable sales motion. AI talents, I think, is the core blocker from us to enter AGI. We need another 2 years for agents to really solve the white-collar workflow. A lot of people believe we're almost there, but I think it will take another 2 years.
Denise, it's so good to see you.
Great to see you.
Welcome to Venture Grounds. Maybe just to kick off, I'd love to learn more about your background and how you ended up at Gradient.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, thank you so much for having me. And I'm currently a partner at Gradient, and we are a B2B AI-focused fund, focused on early stage, really just pre-seed and seed for the most part. And I joined the firm for about 2.5 years at this point. And previously, I was a product manager, was building different infra and dev tool products when I was at Twitter, Meta, and MuleSoft. And after being a PM for a couple of years, I realized I really want to learn software from the areas that I don't really know that well. And in order to get that bird's eye view, I decide or figure out VC is one of the jobs that I can kind of force myself to see many different software and toolings every day. So decided to do the career transition. And yeah, had a great conversation with Gradient and decided to join because we are a small team, AI focused since day one, and also we're SF based, which is the right place to find all the AI first founders.
Totally. That's amazing. I would love to dive deeper into how your experience as an operator has sort of informed the way that you invest. What have been the biggest sort of benefits or learnings from having been an operator and now moving into the investing role?
Yeah, I think the biggest benefits is really, my experience of being a PM. It's all about finding the product market fits and figuring out what's the use case and the pain points, right? So this type of product discovery or validation skill sets is really helpful for early stage investments because a lot of time we're validating, hey, if this idea proposed by the founders is actually a meaningful idea or meaningful problems in the market, and also doing a lot of competitor analysis, right? When I was a PM, one of the core jobs is really understanding what are the similar features in the markets and do a comparison to figure out your wedge or your differentiation. That's pretty much what we're doing right now during due diligence. And the last piece is really helpful as a former PM is I had a really strong PM and engineer community. And a lot of time for our portfolio founders, they want to hire the talented operators as their founding member. So leveraging the network from my operator friends is also one thing I think is really beneficial for the portfolio companies, no matter for hiring or for providing some potential ideas or use case validation.
Yeah, makes sense. How hands-on are you in Gradient sort of post-investment? Obviously, I could understand how being an operator might help sort of give you extra meat in the diligence process. Do you bring the operator sort of skill set in the way that you help portfolio companies after you've invested?
We actually do that a lot. So the context here is we focus on early stage and we prefer to be the lead investor. So usually the lead investor, we want to, not just take more ownership, but also really fully support the portfolio company operationally. So that's kind of how we position the fund. And with that being said, we really support the founder from not just hiring, finding potential operator friends join the company, but also, help them to position their products from go-to-market's perspective and helping them to review their sales pipeline and go-to-market content / your sales points on your websites all the way down to even looking to the compensation structure. So there's a lot of different types of the go-to-market supports we offer. And me specifically, I really like helping the founders to, in a way, create a better community, perhaps in the developer ecosystem. It's all about, making sure you're deeply connected with the developers, the builders in SF. So we also do host different events, no matter private dinner or AI reading group, which I will be hosting one next week. So that really just bring the community together, and organically through those events, people will be like, oh, I know someone who's really cool that can become my potential buyer or founding member or any other related role of the company. So we do a lot of things, hiring, go to markets, and also things like events and building community.
Amazing. leaning back into kind of the operator experience and how that informs how you think about diligence, I guess what how long ago were you an operator? Was it more recent? Like was it pre sort of AI boom era or?
It's about the moment when AI boom happened. It's about 2.5 years ago. I think ChatGPT was released for roughly half a year. I think that was the time when I went through this transition. So still feel pretty connected with my operating kind of life or friends. But at the same time, I also feel like the AI ecosystem changed so much. Previously, everyone cares about, oh, the chat interface and using ChatGPT to do so many things. But now it's all about the multi-step agents, the long horizon agents. So even it's just 2 years-ish, but I do feel like the market's changed a lot.
How has your approach to thinking about kind of founder quality and what matters when it comes to the person doing the building, how has that changed sort of as the tooling and the environment around AI has changed around these people?
Yeah, I think one top of mind is always fast iteration. So it does sound like very basic, right? Like, of course, startup, you have to move really fast. But nowadays, because all the AI tool, especially for coding agents, and also for like design creation agents, so these type of tooling really allow all the builders to quickly visualize their idea into something you can run in production. So I think that really helps the founder who can iterate really fast, use all the AI native tools, and quickly bring those prototype in front of the customer to get feedback. If the founders were able to do this versus spending a lot of time doing one-off customer discovery and just having conversation, but they didn't really show you anything concrete to drive a deeper customer conversation, I think that really separates who is the good founder or who is the amazing and great founders. It's all about fast iteration.
What is the sort of right blend, in your opinion, between kind of, this ineffable founder judgment thing versus being really data driven? It seems like the tooling for collecting user feedback has only allowed folks to collect more data more quickly. Does that sort of paradoxically lead to sort of the judgment and intuition mattering more? Or how do you think about that?
I think for us or for human, right? Like when you feel like, oh, this product is right or this product feels good, you usually say, hey, this is my gut feeling. But usually your gut feeling comes from a lot of data you looked into. I think before AI, everyone really relies on, product analytics, dashboard metrics, or a quick user interview transcripts to kind of understand those signals. But now because of AI, I think you can get 10x more data. Perhaps you can see a smarter like metrics or dashboard to tell you what's the user pattern from maybe session recording, which you previously don't really want to watch for like 10 different session recordings. And now there's also additional kind of agent traces that you can also look into to understand the flow better. And on top of that, Granola or any other user interview tool, they're able to really synthesize the conversation you had with your customer. So that actually give you additional higher quality customer inputs as well. So combine all these types of the data modality together as feedback, I think everyone, no matter builder, engineer, PMs, founders, everyone can get way more signals. So hopefully that can help everyone to have a better gut feeling.
Yeah.
So that's how I think about how AI can shape everyone's like point of view about the users from reading a lot of data.
Yeah, makes sense. You seem to talk a lot about agents. Where do you see kind of the next breakout opportunity? And how do you sort of foresee agentic tooling becoming more of sort of like the status quo or accessible to sort of non-expert users?
Non-expert users, meaning like someone who's not that technical.
Folks who are less, default AI savvy.
Yeah. Yeah, I think agent is changing so quickly. I do feel like last year everyone's trying to implement a little bit more simple agents, maybe 1 or 2 steps or 1 to 5 different clicks, that type of the agents. But now I think every companies, including the model labs for the most part, because they usually ship a higher quality agents through their consumer facing product, they really drive all the long horizon agent implementation. And hopefully that will enable more types of the accurate agent in the market. So we do see agents to be a little bit more in the background, right? For example, maybe perhaps your experience of using like deep research, that type of agents, you don't have to be there and be human in the loop to help the agent to finish works. But some of the agents, you still need to help them. For example, browser-based agents, you still need to help the agents to bypass all the, like issues or errors. So human has to be in the loop. But in the future, let's say if the data is more, data can enrich the agent further. So perhaps even computer use or browser use related agents also don't really need a human in the loop anymore. So accuracy increase. In that case, there are maybe 10x more use cases can be unlocked versus just traditional background agents. So that's kind of one modality or one way to improve the agent. And I guess the other type is really just multimodality agents. Now we all rely on the kind of text-based agent to finish the works for you. But in the future, perhaps the interface is not you writing the text prompts, might be you talking to an avatar if the voice and the image and the video generations also can meet the latency requirements. So perhaps the interface for the agents can change too. So that's how we feel about the agents kind of developments in the markets, and we think we're still in a very, very early stage of using agents. And hopefully a better interface will help the less technical or less AI savvy users to feel easier to use AI agents because you don't need to prompt a lot of sophisticated instruction to the text interface anymore.
Yep. Do you think that the opportunity is concentrated in the sort of medium term in more sort of verticalized, sort of, specific workflow oriented tooling, or do you believe in like a future that's more kind of like general purpose agentic solutions? I'm thinking of sort of like I think there's like a Claude browser sort of agent solution in Chrome now that I just tested out recently, which works interestingly well for a few use cases, but still feels very early on versus solutions like that are keyed in on maybe one particular set of vertical specific use cases. Like, how do you think things evolve?
I think my answer is like both will exist for an obvious reason. We do have very strong, even like you mentioned, right, cloud co-work, these type of agents can cover, let's say 80% of the prosumer or productivity related task, from generating documents to generating a visual slide or to kind of help you to update the field. So that can be bundled under, horizontal agents can handle that. But we also do have like extremely vertical industries really require the verticalized agents. So I'm talking about obviously for like healthcare related, right? Obviously for things like financial related. So for example, one of our portfolio company, 𝐟𝐸, they're building financial advisor agents. So I don't believe ever like OpenAI or Anthropic will have a personalized financial advisors without me uploading a lot of my personal data because hallucination will happen and I don't know if my personal data is fully protected. But if you have a verticalized financial agents, for example, I can make sure this company have a really, really high standard for security. And also they are able to maybe reinforcement learned a lot of fine-tuned model for my specific maybe retirements planning or investments related, personal investments related use cases. So I can fully trust the company can be more specialized in very, very domain specific use case. So I still believe those kind of healthcare, finance, or even logistics, these type of industries will require the vertical agents to exist.
Is the learning there basically that things like regulation or the nature of the sale informs the need for verticalization maybe more than kind of technical capabilities in the long run?
I think so. Technical capability might be commoditized in the long run because everyone, if they collect the data properly, if they hire the right AI talents, build meaningful like optimization pipeline, I think perhaps everyone's agents, even vertical agents, can achieve meaningful accuracy. But at the same time, companies still need to do a lot of like boring, tedious work, including, like you said, ensure it's not violating regulation, ensure they do very complex integration down under the stack to make sure all the right data flows into the context, and also to ensure they have the right security mandates in place. So these like boring, mundane, but very necessary work, I think will be continue to be the differentiation for these vertical agents.
Yeah, makes sense. You invest in a company called Truth Systems, which seems to sell into a very, highly technical kind of buyer base. What is your advice, or sort of what is the general kind of difficulty that founders, building an AI make when selling to these more sophisticated or even skeptical kind of customers?
Yeah, I usually think if the customer is like your typical kind of enterprise level customer, of course, it's more sophisticated, it's more skeptical about an early stage startup solution. But the successful playbook I saw from the founders is really twofold. One is really building the trust, another is really understanding the enterprise internal dynamic, perhaps through things like OKR. So building the trust is all about, the founder they're able to navigate, each meetings and meet the enterprise buyers in person and really take their time to build that trust through a lot of like organic interaction. And also make sure they know this person, the, sponsor from the enterprise is someone who is important, and also having the authority to buy the software, to pick the right person and also build trust is one thing. And the second part is really enterprise has so many departments and everyone might be fighting for budgets. So how do you make sure you are tapping into the most important departments and OKR and budgets? So if you're able to know, what's top of mind for that department for the next 2 quarters, if you're able to kind of connect the dots of all these kind of contexts from the enterprise, usually you will position your products and your company with a better kind of talking points and selling points. So I think if founders is able to navigate all the things I just mentioned, the trust building piece, navigating the dynamics of the enterprise, usually they can get a better, I guess, like sales process with the enterprise. I was a buyer myself before from, tech enterprise company. I do feel exactly the same. A lot of time the seller from startups, they just don't really know what's top of mind for me.
Yep.
And I have to really tell them, actually for this quarter, the most important thing is XYZ migration. Hence, we needed the data tooling to do that. But a lot of time, if they're talking to the wrong person, the sponsor will not really share the information with them properly. So how to navigate that is really more like arts than science.
Yeah. Do you find that founders are generally able to kind of like learn that skill set, or do you generally as an investor try to help kind of find the talent that is really good at developing those relationships in a, from a sales standpoint with enterprise and other customers that are maybe more complex?
Yeah, honestly, depends on the category. I think if the company is more on the like traditional SaaS or nowadays agents sort of the category, you kind of want to make sure the company, especially the CEO himself or herself, has that ability by default. Because, before you reach Series A, all the first 10 customers, you have to, as a founder, you have to close the deals by yourself to understand what's the repeatable sales motion. However, if today we're talking about a dev tool, in that case, I think the go-to-market motion is entirely different. You don't want to hire an enterprise salesperson starting from day one, even though your long-term ICP is enterprise. You want to focus on, let's say, the bottom-up adoption. You want to drive that open source adoption from 0 to like 300K kind of active users or active production software traffic. So no matter what it is, you have to focus on the developer experience the most before, let's say, your Series A or Series B. So it's really different motion, depends on the company's category. So I would say some of them, yes, CEO himself, herself needs to have the enterprise kind of skill sets, go-to-market skill sets, but dev tool maybe not to start with, but the go-to-market is entirely a different motion that is really POG driven.
Yeah, makes sense. We have hit our espresso round time. So gonna ask you some rapid fire questions.
Sounds great.
Let's just kick off. What's one view you hold about the market that you think most investors would disagree with?
Most investor will disagree with, I do believe agents will not be fully ready for complex tasks this year. I think we need another 2 years for agents to really solve the white collar workflow in terms of like using software automation to replace the traditional RPA. A lot of people believe we're almost there, but I think it will take another 2 years.
I know we said rapid fire. I guess what is driving that belief specifically? Like why?
I personally think the data is not ready. Is that fast enough?
I think so. I have so many more questions, but I'll skip them for now. What is one conviction that you've had that you've completely rethought in like the last year?
Have to say RAG. So RAG, I thought it's gonna be a default kind of implementation for every single company, but it seems like it died down.
What is the risk that most of venture is sleepwalking past right now?
Not paying attention to, I think, lack of AI talents. I think in a way we should invest in more education to potentially generate more AI talents over time. AI talents, I think, is the core blocker from us to enter AGI. And I think we should fix that from education.
What do you think is keeping us from having enough talent?
I think one thing is really have to say, like, we don't really spend enough time to optimize education specifically. If you look into the high school or middle school ecosystem, the budgets they have, lack of AI tool, lack of teacher resources. I think these are the core reasons to prevent the younger generations to quickly access more complex or more advanced education content. So I think that's the core reason. The system is the core reason that we're relatively slow.
Yep, cool. Who's a company, founder, or sector that you're super fascinated by at the moment, and why?
Yeah, I have to say our portfolio company, we are a big fan for our AI orchestration framework, Mastra. They focus on orchestration for JavaScripts and TypeScripts. And if you think about the production software, it's usually driven by these deployments in JavaScripts and TypeScripts. So we do believe if you want to ship AI in production safely, this is the right orchestration framework versus Python.
Amazing. What is a founder red flag that is actually a green flag for you?
Red flag, I say green. The founders who have a little bit ADHD, because that means they can focus on many, many different topics within a very short time frame to get things done.
And what do founders consistently get wrong about what VCs actually do?
A lot of founders think the VCs are not, deep enough or technical enough to understand what they're building, but a lot of VCs are learning AI tooling or AI ecosystem every single day. So I actually think VCs knows a ton of the dynamic of AI tools. So hopefully that can be helpful for the founders in terms of like validating their stack and it's giving them suggestion around what's the right tooling to increase their own productivity.
Yeah. Well, and just like we started off in the podcast, you've operated before. You're clearly an expert and a user of so much of the tooling that you're evaluating out there in the market. And so if I were a founder, I would definitely lean on that expertise as well. Well, it's been a pleasure having you on the podcast. Thank you so much for coming on, and looking forward to doing so much with Gradient going forward.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Appreciate you.